lucky you're still in there? You haven't figured out a way to get out of my mirror yet? Living in your head must be so relaxing. I bet you can hear the ocean in there. But enough about you. Let's talk about me. I've been very busy the past few months. You know, as they say, April showers bring May flowers. But that also brings very soft cemeteries. The ghouls and I have had an absolutely fabulous time digging through some of the more waterlogged areas, and we've discovered all kinds of new friends. I'm sure you'll meet them at some point. But for now, I suppose I'll share with you some of my more interesting finds. For example, cracking open one of the coffins, we found a story clutched in skeletal hands. It's called A Ghost Story by Annette Klausegger. It was even better in person. Walking up the cracked old sidewalk, the little white farmhouse I was here to see came into view, and I had never wanted anything so badly in my life. The realtor was waiting for me on the tiny sagging porch, trying to look perky. "Hi, I'm Rhonda. Are you ready to take a look around?" I shook her offered hand and nodded. "Absolutely. Do you know anything about it? There wasn't much in the listing." She unlocked the door and led us inside the front hall, fumbling for a light switch. Her voice remained chipper as she launched into her presentation. "Well, it was originally built in 1898, and you can see that most of the original features remain. All the woodwork, flooring, window trim. It's really got a lot of charm. And it's nice and small, perfect for someone starting out. The furnace, electrical, and roof were all upgraded by the previous owner." I stopped listening, happy to just wander through the few rooms and admire the old building. It really seemed to be in very good shape for being so far outside of town, and it wasn't much bigger than any of the apartments I'd looked at closer to work. But crucially, this little place would be cheaper than anything I could rent, and it would be mine. The farm town it was in wasn't close to much, but the highway was near enough that the commute would be reasonable. Wow, it really does sound great. I can't see much wrong with it, though. For the price. Is it haunted or something? I joked, but to my surprise, her sales pitch demeanor instantly fell, and she just looked tired. "Who told you?" "What, really?" I laughed, thinking maybe she was joking. Surely the one who was trying to make the sale like this wouldn't seriously tell someone there's ghosts. But she sighed. "I was hoping it wouldn't come up. But that's why it's being sold again. The last several owners have all moved out within 2 years, and I've been told hearing noises and footsteps at all hours is the main reason. Apparently, a little boy died here in the late 30s. Just an accident. I think he fell out of a tree. The parents ended up splitting, and the father lived here until his own death in the 80s. It sat vacant for a while before finally selling. And from then on, it's gone through several hands and periods of vacancy. I personally find it ridiculous. But perhaps you will finally be the first sane person to want it. It is, in my opinion, in very good shape for its age and history. And for the price?" She looked at me, hopeful. "So what you're telling me is, it comes with a roommate that won't even help with utilities?" I tried to look serious, but couldn't keep it up and laughed again. "You hear that, kid? If you're sticking around, there's going to be some rules around here." I grinned at the realtor. I really do love the place. What do I need to do to put in an offer? Rhonda smiled and started pulling out paperwork. Closing took longer than I expected, but soon enough I had a handful of shiny old keys and a little white, haunted farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. My family told me I was crazy to move all the way out to Hicksville. But move I did, until the place finally started to look like a home. And as I moved things in and cleaned and painted, I would talk to the supposed ghost, mostly for fun. When the house settled at night, I would sternly inform him that it was after curfew, or that he's making me miss my beauty sleep. All in all, though, I rarely heard anything that I couldn't immediately attribute to the quirks of an old house. Every now and then I'd hear rattling or scraping. But old country houses have mice. It's almost impossible to avoid. I did have a pest guy come to look just in case, but if scratching and tapping was the worst my ghost would do, I could live with it and be happy. I couldn't understand how the procession of previous owners hadn't been able to feel how comfortable and welcoming the place was. I could sit on the porch looking down the narrow asphalt road, listening to the birds and the wind and the droning insects, with a patch of woods to one side and endless fields spilling out the horizon on the other. And even as the seasons started to change, the house, with its well pump that liked to short out now and then, and the somewhat uncertain electricity, was beautiful to me. Me and my ghost and my little haunted house. A sudden late summer storm one evening put some of those feelings to the test. The power had gone out twice so far, and the cellar was prone to take on water when it rained hard enough, which it was definitely doing. I had found some old white candles wrapped in what was probably a 40-year-old newspaper, stuffed in a kitchen drawer I had somehow never opened until now. It was getting dark, and it turns out I didn't own a flashlight. My cell phone would only go so far if the lights went out. And then, of course, they did. And the noises started. At first, I barely noticed over the rain and wind literally rattling the windows. But soon enough, it was definitely distinct from the storm sounds. Hey, buddy, everything okay? Are you afraid of storms? By now, I was pretty solidly in the habit of talking to my ghost. It even helped with my own anxiety. You don't have to be scared. Come sit in the room with me. We'll wait it out for it to finish together. I lit one of the emergency candles in the living room, just to have another source of light. The dragging and thumping sounds were even louder now, with strange, shrill noises added. I can't explain why they were making me afraid. I love storms usually, but something about this one. Alone in the dark with something unknown here with me, making noises, was activating my fight or flight responses. And then lightning flashed through the window with the gunshot of thunder directly overhead, and I screamed. And then I broke down into laughter after seeing the tree branches thrashing the side of the house in the lightning flash. The noises were just from the tree. How stupid that I've never thought of that. With that realization, my anxious mood broke. Come on, kid, let's go to bed. Huh? You're not allowed to tell anyone how dumb I was, though, okay? I made a mental note to get any fallen branches cleaned up from the yard in the morning and get to bed. The next morning, standing on the porch to check the aftermath, it occurred to me why I hadn't thought of the tree as I stared at the old, rotten stump of an oak tree outside the front window, cut down decades ago. Oh, well done, Annette. There's nothing quite so delectable as a ghost story. Especially the kind that remind you that ghosts aren't just reserved for waterlogged cemeteries. They're everywhere. And you never know when one is nestled up right next to you, do you? Well, I suppose it's time I leave you. Oh, don't look so sad. All right. Just one more story. Labyrinth by Zachary, Beaman. It's a huge space, a room in somewhere so vast that the horizon is just an endless black wall and endless black space. There's an ocean with dark waves you can sense and hear, but can't see, and an island at the center of it with a city. Look around you and see the ships. They are behemoths, huge and angular and organic, arching skeletal profiles silhouetted. They are waiting. Everything is as smooth as stone, and ebony like a night without stars, cut through with fine lines of amber, gold, ivory. Soft organic light pulses in those countless lines. Ancient, undeniable heartbeats. It's freezing. Your breath comes out in the billowing fog. Thin, dark ice frosts across sculptures, as if it were a fine, artisanal coating. The doorways are too tall for any human, and they flower open, or the seams vanish, making the entrance into a wall. Nothing has blemishes. Nothing here has been built. It's grown, manifested. Every surface is eerily warm against the biting cold, ridged with intricate carvings, so small you have to feel them to know they're there. Everything is too big for normal people. Avenues are so wide and broad, buildings like skyscrapers that simply vanish up into shadow. It goes on and on, a labyrinth for titans. Everything meets at the center, at a statue ringed by black water in circular canals. But it's so massive that you can't see up into the gloom. Just two claws on a mount, and giant legs bent backwards at the joints. Is it a god for the vanished builders? A triumphant warrior? You feel awful foreboding. An ominous realization that somewhere far above you, the statue is looking back. They know you are here. Doesn't that just send shivers through you? You do well to remember, my little parakeet, that even in the dark, they know where you are. Sleep well, and death will never part us.